Hey guys, welcome back to Cuda Cave. So in the last segment, you see me cutting out the frame rails. Unfortunately, I had to cut out the passenger side as well because I didn't take a measurement. So I'm going to take lots of measurements. We're going to make sure that these rails are where they need to be. So right now, what I want to do is give a little shout out to my beautiful wife. She got me this for my birthday. It's a great metal sign. I had it made. On her butt cheek, it says Mopar or no car. And I think that's the theme of what we're going for here with Cuda. So as we proceed, I'm going to go under the car. I'm going to show you where we're at with this. I did have somebody mention in the ebodies.org website that I may have drilled the holes too small, but I'd rather drill them small and see if I can get the penetration that I need. And if I don't, then I can enlarge them. I can't make the hole smaller. And that's the whole purpose. I don't want to overload it with welds, blow through, stuff like that. So if I can get the penetration, I'm going to leave them. If not, we'll make the holes bigger. So right now, we'll go under the car. We'll show you what we're sitting with. Hey guys, so here we are. We're inside the car. I kind of decided to do this one first, and then we'll go underneath and we'll show you what we're dealing with. So first thing I've noticed is I got a little dimple right here. This is raised up, and I'll show you the concern that I have underneath. Yes, the floor pan has been done at one time. We'll fix that up a little bit later. But this is where the frame rail mounts to underneath, and this is raised up, and I do have a gap on the underside. So we'll bang that back down. We'll make sure that's flat, it's tight, it's in there. And obviously, as you can tell, there is some floor work that I've got to do in here. So we've got some holes. We can see daylight through there, down in this corner. So we'll make up some new panels in here. I've discovered that if I want to do this as a full panel in here, it includes the entire back seat. I'm kind of going backwards if I do that. I really don't want to cut all that out, put a new pan in. I did notice that there's one supplier that supplies the entire piece from this cross member all the way back. So anybody in the future that's doing that, leave me a comment. I'll shoot you the link. That's no problem. I kind of wish that I had seen it sooner. I would have replaced the entire thing. But here we are, and we'll make it work. We'll throw some patches in, and we'll get this tight. So I'll show you the underneath, and oh yeah, I got jack stand up there. Like I said, we're gonna have to put some pressure on this, coming from the top, jack stand from the bottom, and we'll just push that frame rail into the sheet metal for the back seat here. The back seat pan is basically intact. It hasn't moved, so we're gonna use that as a reference point. Okay, I'll show you underneath in just a second. So we're under the car now. As you can see, like, there's the hole that's going through up into the floor pan. There's a factory hole, rubber plug will go in there. But that little dimple that was in the floor pan, if you can see that, I'll get the light in a little better spot. There's a big gap in there. So what I'll do, I'll just dolly that from the inside. We'll make it flush. There's gaps in here, and it does go all the way up. So that's why I say we're gonna have to put pressure from the top, pressure from the bottom. We'll take our measurements and we'll make sure that this is in place. So going back to the back, there's a new floor pan in the trunk, one piece, much easier to do a one piece. So what I've done is put some bolts in here. We'll just turn the camera around, sorry. So I've thrown some bolts in where the bumper mounts go, and so we'll use that as a reference point. I do know that it has to move over a little bit more to catch this hole. That was a spot weld before. And any of this tearing, we can put a patch in here afterwards. The bumper's gonna go here, so you won't see any of this once we're done. But we'll make sure that it's in there and kind of hidden. As you can see up in here, we're gonna have to add a piece to this tail piece. It's pretty punky, but that's neither here nor there. We can get that done very easily. Okay, so I'll get set up here, and we'll dolly some metal. We'll get things positioned. We'll put some pressure up and down. So here we go, guys. So I've got myself a hammer, some type of round edge. This is just a chisel that I'm gonna use. I'm hoping that I can lay this in here and we can beat that down, get that contour back in the floor pan. Passenger side looks pretty good, so we're not too worried about that one. So I'm just going to beat this down. We'll probably grind these welds down a little bit in here. But we'll make this contour and we'll make it fit better on the other side. So guys, that contour, I got that beat down in there. It didn't take a whole lot, but I did notice that we got a little bit of cracking in here. But we'll put a little bead of weld in there, grind it down, that way it's nice and flush. Let's take a look underneath and we'll see what we got there. So here we are under the car, and the gap's better, but I think once we put some pressure on the bottom here and we push down from the top, we should be able to get that nice and close, be able to weld that in there. Like I said, the floor pans, they were changed. This is the original metal up here. This is the new floor pan. So there might be a lap in here, a little bit of a gap, but we can manipulate the steel just a little bit and get that to fit better. So here we are, guys. We got some pressure pushing down on the floor. I got some pressure underneath, pushing up on the frame rail. Key note here, yes, I have some lumber in here, but I also have big plate of lumber up on the top. We don't want to distort the roof any. There's not a lot of pressure on it. Sheet metal is very thin. It's easy to manipulate. So what I've done is just put a piece of, looks like 2x4, whatever, and just a car jack, and it's sitting in here and it's pushing down on the floor. That way we can get pressure on the frame rail pushing up. So we've got a good tight location on this. I think I'm going to go ahead and we'll put some welds in that flange there. And then we'll line up the back. We'll make sure that's where it needs to be. And just a matter of plug welding everything that's in there. So guys, off camera here, I welded in a few little spots here just to try the fit. So far I'm quite happy with it. So looking in here, a few plug welds. We got that saddle welded into the floor pan. Brackets plugged weld in. Still got to bend this tab over. Weld it in. We did the front one. I carried on around the outside of it. We can clean the welds up afterwards. And then on the inside, same thing. We did a few plug welds in here, a little bit around the saddle. So we'll just carry on. We'll push things together. We'll get some welds in here. This is the driver's side that we're working on. So in here, there is a substantial gap. I got to figure out how I can decrease that gap in here because it's on both sides. So as we go, we'll push things in, we'll get things seated properly, and we'll weld this in. All right, so before we get welding this in here, had to put a little bit of pressure like I was saying. So here we got jack stand. We got it pushing up on the bottom of the frame. Had to squeeze the back end together. So we got a block of wood, C-clamp. I've tightened up them bolts, got it into where it needs to be. Underneath, got a ratchet strap to pull this over to where the placement needs to be in here. And then luckily for me, it's double-edged sword, but I've got 8-foot ceilings. And so we took a piece of 4x4 and we supported off the roof into the trunk pan to push down on the trunk pan onto the frame. So that gives us a real tight fit along the top of the frame rail so we can weld that into place. So we'll weld this up. We'll put a few plug welds in here, make sure everything stays where it needs to be. I got my shot cross member in place. It's fastened in with the C-clamps right at the moment because I want to blast it and paint the top side. And then we'll play with the arch up there onto the back seat pan and get it welded in. All right guys, so here we are, we're under the car, we got the welder fired up. Let's run a couple little plug welds in here and we'll get this tacked in. Sorry you couldn't see that side, but kind of got to get myself in position here a few spots to weld that in. A few little spots I'm going to have to get in a little tighter in here. for the most part, I'm really happy with the way this is fitting. So I got to reposition here so I can push up on the flange. It seems to be a little bit of a gap in there. So we'll let the pressure off of this one. Move our jack over. Crank this up a little bit. Alright guys, so as we work our way down here, we'll throw a couple more plug welds up in here. Looks like I'm going to have to squeeze this up a little bit tighter in here. There's a little bit of a gap. I kind of want to get these ones in first so we don't twist the frame rail at all. But let's go ahead and we'll throw some plug welds in these. Get my helmet on. And we'll throw some welds in. Got that one just a little bit too hot, it blew through. So we'll just fill that up a little bit, make it look good. Same with this one, a little bit of gapping around the outside. Got one more and then we'll manipulate that just a little bit further. Okay, so I'll reposition here, move some stuff around, and we'll weld some more in.